Again, research methods. We are now going to walk through SPSS Lab number 2. Now, lab number 2 and all of the remaining labs, you'll be using a data set that's already provided. So I'm on the D2L homepage here, and I'm going to navigate to assignments. And what I'm going to walk you through here is we're going to first walk through getting to the virtual lab. So I'm going to click on SPSS Lab number 2. And I'm going to click on this virtual lab link. Just like we've done before, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to access virtual lab via web browser. That brings me here. I'm going to click on this first one, and knowing that now once this comes up, I'm going to click on the one on the right-hand side here. That's the web client. And it's going to have me log in with my star ID and password. And then I click on this first one that says My Lab. All right, so this time I'm going to go ahead and allow full screen so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so now you can see that since I selected full screen, you can no longer see my desktop. We're only looking at the virtual lab desktop. So you don't have two bars here at the bottom. It's only the virtual lab. So now knowing that, I'm going to navigate to D2L. So you want to navigate to D2L from within the virtual lab, which we're now in the virtual lab. So I'm going to open up a web browser here. Defaults to the Metro State homepage. Go to current students, D2L Brightspace. Okay, now we're all logged into D2L. So I'm going to go to assignments. Scroll down to our SPSS assignments. We are on SPSS Lab number 2. So again, for SPSS Lab number 2 and all the remaining labs, we are going to use the database that is attached to each of these assignments. So it's this SPS dataset.sav. And as long as you're in the virtual lab, you can just click on this and it will automatically open. Oh, sorry, it just downloaded it. So you have to tell it to open it, right? So here's our download thing. You're going to tell it to open it right like that. And now you can see that it's opening SPSS. Again, this is going to take a while. So I collected all of this data while I was working on my dissertation to earn my PhD. And I am so glad that you guys can now use it too. And I'm getting more use out of it because, man, this was a lot of work. So lab assignment number 2. Number 1 is to run a single variable frequency table for the variable crime. So if we want to go and see, again, it defaults to data view, but we can always click on the variable view here, and then we can see all of our names here. And you can see I'm a little guilty too of not always filling in the label. And then you'll see that that is why I always change it to display variable name, which you'll see is part of my instructions as we go along. So the variable crime is right here. So that is the variable we want to run a single variable frequency table for. So we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies. I'm going to hold it here for a second so you can see the path. Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Frequencies. Go ahead and click on Frequencies. Now, here is the step that you're going to follow over and over and over again. So you're going to right-click on this list here, and it says it's defaulting to display variable labels, but as you can see, I didn't always fill in the labels. To make things easier, I'm going to suggest that you always change this to display variable names. And again, to do that, what I did is I hovered over this list, right-click on a PC. I'm not sure how to right-click on a Mac. Hopefully you do. Right-click and say Display Variable Names. Now we can scroll down and find the variable crime. Oh, there it is, variable crime. We can highlight it and use this arrow to move it over, or you can simply double-click and it'll move it over. The other thing I want to make sure that you know is normally I would suggest that you uncheck this display frequency tables box. In this case, that's exactly what we want. Number 1 is run a single variable frequency table for the variable crime. So we're going to leave everything as is and say okay. And I'm going to make this output window. So this output here that just came up, this is what you're going to save and upload for me for all future SPSS assignments. So I'm going to make this bigger. And you can see here, this is the frequency table for crime, which is whether or not I observed criminal activity when I was doing my observations. And there are just two answers, no and yes. And so that is the extent of our frequency table. And it's how often, the frequency is how often I did not observe criminal activity and how often I did observe criminal activity. Moving on to number 2, I'm going to go back to our data set. For number 2, it says run a 2-variable cross tabulation for the variables crime and weather. So a cross tabulation is a way that you can compare 2 different variables to each other and see how they may or may not interact. So in order to do that, we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. Stay here for a second. Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. Clicking on that to open it up. Again, as always in this list, I'm going to right-click and say Display Variable Names. Now, it doesn't really matter for our purposes here which of these boxes you put which of the variables in. I'm just going to take weather here since that's the first one I see, and I'm going to put that in the target list. And I'm going to scroll down and find crime again and put that in the other box. So now we have weather and crime. Perfectly fine for you to have it the other way around, have crime in the top box and weather in the second box. It's going to look a little different than mine will, but you can do it either way since we're not really doing any statistics here. So say okay. And now you can see what this is doing is now comparing when I saw criminal activity based on the type of weather that was happening. So that is number 2. So for number 3, run the same cross tabulation as number 2, including the row and column percentages. So I'm going to go back to my database. You can actually run it from here. You can see it's the same drop-down menu, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go back to our data set. I'm going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Crosstabs. And you'll notice that everything stayed the same. So SPSS remembers what you've done and it leaves it with the last thing that you did. So for our purposes here, that's very helpful. And what I'm going to click on now is this cells button here. And it's asking us to include the row and column percentages. So we can see this percentages option here. And I'm going to check the boxes for row and column percentages. And then say continue. And then say okay. There we go, same exact table, but now we see both the row and column percentages. That is number 3. And for number 4, we are going to create a bar chart for the variable weather. I'm going to go back to our data set again. Here we're going to go to graphs and go down to bar. And it defaults to this simple one. That's perfectly fine. So you see that the simple one is highlighted here. I'm going to say define. Now, this is going to ask me what variables do I want to talk about here. Again, on this list, we're going to right click and say display variable names. And we want weather, right? So we are going to highlight weather and I'm going to move it to the category axis box. And then I'm going to say okay. Scroll down a little bit and you can see our beautiful bar chart. Luckily for me, most of the days were sunny. And again, like I said, you're going to save this output file. This is what I want you to upload to SPSS. Again, if you are not comfortable doing that and you'd rather do the screenshot method, just be sure I can see everything. So you're going to have several screenshots for this one. So I want you to do a screenshot here, scroll down a little bit, do a screenshot here, scroll down a little bit, do a screenshot here. Right, you need to do a screenshot so that I can see everything, all of the output for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Otherwise, you can say File, Save As, and go ahead and save it someplace where you'll be able to find it, and then upload it to D2L. And that's the end of SPSS Lab number 2. We'll see you next time.